Hi everybody, welcome to another behind the scenes video. Today we're looking at my compact but highly effective YouTube studio. Let's get into it. Right, let's tackle the elephant in the small room. When I say a small compact studio, how big am I talking? Now, rather than sacrifice one of the bedrooms in my house, I chose to convert the garage, but not all of the garage, about 2/3 of it. So what we're talking about is 2.4 meters wide, which is a standard single garage, and then just shy of 3 meters long. Let me give you a quick tour. Okay, so starting here, I was just filming there. That's my door where I come in from my garden. I've got a selection of photographs on the cork wall. My lens is up on a shelf here with a light behind. On this shelf here, I tend to just keep all of my tripod plates. Got some spikes, mini tripods, microphones and a few other accessories. Spare batteries, small lights. Photography books. I put my action cameras up here. Camera, just a display of camera equipment essentially. Sitting desk, computer underneath the desk, glass worktop, twin screens. I've got a standing desk which has got a 4K widescreen monitor with some speakers, and I've got a backdrop here which has got some fine art images. I've got an umbrella set up in the corner which I use just to light the room itself. And behind the door I've got these display boards. I move that down. So if I needed to make a thumbnail, if I was doing some product photography, I've now got a clean foreground and a clean background, and I just need to add some lighting. Now, because this is a functional space where I actually do all of my photo and video editing as well, I need it to work as an office and not just a filming space. So I decided I wanted two desks. I wanted one sitting desk and then another standing desk. I didn't get anything too fancy. Quite simply, I actually just stuck some speakers on top of the existing trestles, which raised it up just enough for it to be a standing desk. And this all happened in lockdown. Because I had to work from home, I wanted to make this office space as efficient as possible. And as well as being comfortable for long periods of working, it also gave me multiple angles and options for when I wanted to shoot my YouTube videos, because it can get a bit boring when you've got the same background in all of your videos. I've actually managed to squeeze 4 different compositions for my YouTube videos. Let me show you. There we go. I've not got any of the lighting set up, but if you've watched any of my previous videos, you'll know this composition. The camera is just next to the door, and I'm sitting at my desk on my chair, and then this is my sitting desk in the background. Right, composition number 2. Literally spent 30 seconds setting this up. The camera is now on a tripod that lives on that desk the whole time, and it's just in the opposite corner. You can see my camera display in the background and the cork wall there. This is composition number 3. I used to use this a lot more than I do now. Quite simply, I've got the camera on a monopod on the desk. I've got a large softbox to my side. I can't get out of the office now. This softbox is so big. We'll come on to lighting in a second. As you can see, I've got an array of photographs behind me, which is nice. Ideally, I don't want them to be in focus too much because I don't want people looking at them instead of me. But this is just another composition from a very small space. And this is composition number 4. I can mix this up. At the moment, I'm shooting on a 35, but I could bring the camera closer and then shoot with a wider angle lens. Because this office is so small, I had no choice but to push the desks up against the wall. And if I had more space, I would have a desk in the middle of the room, so therefore I could put the camera there and you create that depth that I was talking about just now. So if I was ever making a product review and I need a desk in front of me, then I need something like this. So this is a temporary worktop which I just chuck to the side across here, and when I need it I pull it out, I put them on these small trestles, and now I've actually got a worktop in front of me so I can talk about things. If I want to talk about this camera or any accessories, it's also another worktop to be taking product photography on. I believe that the easier something is to do, the more likely you are to do it. That is why I always have my cameras out on the side. I leave the tripod set up. That's why I've got this light always set up. I think if you could have those 4 compositions always set up, you're a lot more likely to make videos. If you are creating a compact YouTube space, then you're likely to come across 2 problems, 2 challenges: audio and lighting. Let's talk about audio first. If you're completely new to making videos, then it's important for you to know you want to be as close as possible to your microphone. Throughout this video, I was using a lav mic on a wireless system. I'll come to that in a second. But now, because I'm using a wide angle lens, I've switched to the Rode Video Micro. This might be the solution for you. This is probably the easiest solution, but it's not the best. The reason that this works is because it's a wide angle lens and I'm actually, say, 30 centimeters away from the microphone, so the audio will be good. So if you want a more flattering look than a 16mm, then the camera needs to be further away from you, and now all of a sudden your microphone is too far away from you and your audio is not going to be great. I've still got the same microphone on, it's the Rode Video Micro, and because I'm shooting at a much more flattened 50mm now that I'm 1.8 meters away from the camera, the audio doesn't work. So what are your options? Now, the most cost-effective way of getting good audio when your camera is too far away from you is to invest in one of the wireless systems. Now, I use the Rode Wireless Go. They've brought out a Rode Wireless Go 2, which has got a few more features. And it's important to note that that audio is burnt into the video file. It's not separate and you don't have to synchronize it afterwards. So this is definitely the most streamlined workflow. But if you've got a bit more money and you want even better quality, then you need to look at getting a shotgun mic. Okay, so I am shooting wider than I normally would do. I've tilted the camera up, but what you can see now is I've got the Rode Video Pro Plus. This is on a boom arm, so I can move the height of it and position. Let's just say I don't always sit in exactly the same place. I can move this around now. And my image would normally be cut here so you can't see the microphone, but the intention is still the same. In order to overcome echoes in a small space, I've got some acoustic panels on the side there and behind me. However, I've not clad my entire room in the stuff because I want it to be presentable. This is not a sound recording studio. I want it to look good as well. So I think a balance of having some of the acoustic panels and then just good audio practice. If you're using the wireless system, then you have the lav mic here as close as possible to your mouth. Alternatively, if you're using a shotgun microphone, then that is also very close to your mouth. This will eradicate echoes as much as possible in a small space. If you get echoes from behind the camera, then sometimes what I do is I pin a blanket to my cork wall behind there as well. So you can get acoustic blankets, you don't have to permanently stick anything on the wall. Ideally, you want to get as many soft furnishings into a room as possible. That way it's just going to absorb the sound. All right, let's talk about lens choice. Right now I'm shooting on a 50mm lens and this is the absolute limit. The camera is literally in the corner of the room, so you can do these experiments in your own office or your own room that you're looking to set up. But if you've got 2 meters to play with, you could probably shoot a 50mm. The longer the lens, the more flattering it's going to look. Let me show you what this shot looks like at different focal lengths. I've brought the camera further forward and I'm now shooting with a 35mm lens. This is the lens of my choice for this size room, and it gets you a nice perspective. It shoots at 1.8, everybody's happy. And in order to stay roughly the same size in the frame, I can now touch my camera at 16mm. So if you have no space whatsoever and you can only put your camera at arm's reach, look for a 16mm or a wide angle lens. If you've got a bit more space, then I would always choose, say, a 35 or a 50mm, or if you got loads of space, you could go even longer. But I think 35-50mm is the sweet spot for shooting video indoors. Right, let's talk about lighting. This is my lighting setup for the majority of my videos. You'll see that I took down the umbrella in the background. That was deliberate because I didn't want a light source, a big soft diffuse light source behind me. I wanted quite a dark background to help separate me. I've got the key light up here, which is kind of above 45 degrees at an angle. I've got this rim light, which they call it, which gives me a slight halo around my head so that it separates me from the background. And then finally, I've got a strip light over here, which is just filling in some of the gaps. And then I've got some feature LEDs, which are colored blue in the background. Let me talk about the key light here, because this is a Pixapro 100D Mark II. It's very powerful light. It's actually too powerful for a room of this size. Now, in order to get the best quality of light, you want the light source to be as close as possible to you. So I can touch the light, it's just out of frame. But even on its lowest setting, I've had to put 2 diffusion panels in between, and I've put a grid on it as well so that it's not light in the background. And at the moment, I'm shooting at f1.8 ISO 100. I used to shoot 50mm 1.2, and unfortunately this is so bright, even on its lowest setting, I could not shoot at 1.2. I'd have to move the light back, and that defeats the whole point. You want the light to be as close as possible to you, and therefore it's a nice soft light source. So the alternative is to get a light that's not so powerful. You can see that this light here is an LED panel. You can actually see all the LEDs. It does create a very harsh, strong light. So I wouldn't use that for lighting yourself unless you've got some diffusion. Now with a room of this size, you don't want to go crazy and get a really big softbox. The softbox that I use for photographing interiors is so big I have to put it in the garden whilst filming this. It takes up too much space. Now the bigger the light source, the better, okay? However, there is a limit. So what I would do is, I wouldn't go for a softbox of this size, which this is 80 centimeters by 120 centimeters. And it's just too big. What I would actually recommend is something more like this Godox, which is actually 50 centimeters by 50 centimeters. And it allows enough space for 2 diffusion panels. You can see here I've actually got a challenge with the ceiling height as well. So I would just take into consideration, if you don't have loads of ceiling height, then probably opt for a softbox around the 50 centimeter mark. You might be thinking, why don't you just use natural light? You've got a perfectly good window or a door here, and that's fine to some extent, but that's a limitation on when you can and can't record videos. Let's just say it's winter, you're limited to filming in about 6 hours of the day, depending on where you live. If the sun goes behind a cloud, that's going to mess with your exposure and your white balance. So ideally, if you want consistency and you want to be able to make videos whenever you want, you just need some artificial lighting. When I'm filming in this studio, apart from doing behind the scenes where the lighting is all over the place, I use that exact same setup that I showed you. The camera is on the same settings, I use the same lens, I've got presets, white balance. It's all locked in, so all of my videos are exactly the same exposure. I close the blinds on the door and I can film in the middle of the day or in the middle of the night, and my videos look exactly the same. Now, if you're looking for something a little bit more compact, you don't need something so powerful. As I said earlier, actually buying a studio light that was so powerful is actually a bit of a problem for me. Then Sirui have sent me a couple of lights to be testing. So the first one is the Sirui C60B, and it's a studio light. And to give you a comparison, this is the studio light that I use, too big, too powerful. And then this is the Sirui version, which I can light myself equally using a softbox. And the good thing is, because this is newer and it's got a bit more tech in it, I updated the firmware on this the other day. This is a light, and I didn't think it would have a computer in it, but it connects to an app. You can control the brightness, you can control the white balance, and I actually updated this light using the app. The other benefit of this is so powerful, it has to run off the mains. This one, however, will allow you to run it off batteries. So this is no longer limited to actually indoors. You can see I've got a battery powered light, and this is not just like a dim torch. This is a bright light. This is a really bright light. Obviously this is no good for filming until you add some diffusion, but I've got control now over the brightness, and I've got control over the color temperature. So I can turn that all the way down to 2800 Kelvin. If you're doing a video shoot towards the end of the day or the beginning of the day and you want some lovely warm light, there you go, that's 2800 Kelvin. In the middle of the day, I've got 5600 Kelvin, and it goes as far as 7000 Kelvin. So that's a really cool light. That's on 50%. So this light comes with this bag. It comes with a few accessories, one of them being the handle to let you put it on a light stand. So that's 50% power, and I've got this on a, you remember that softbox I showed you earlier that was 80 centimeters by 1.2 meters? So that Sirui C60B is now inside this softbox. Because this softbox is now in the way, it's on the other side. So I thought I would just use the app to control it, and I can just hit 50%, or I can punch up the brightness a bit. So at the moment that is 70, that's 63%. You don't need anything any brighter than that. If you're looking for a cost-effective studio light that you also want the ability to take outside using battery powers, then I think this is actually a really good solution. There are 2 versions of this light, the daylight balance version and the bicolor version that I have here. I will put a link to the Indiegogo campaign for both versions in the top line of the description. Now Sirui have also sent me this, which is magic. I have no idea how it works, okay? But it's a flat panel light. It's probably not going to be a key light, it's going to be more of a secondary light, or if you're going outside and you need a light. So at the moment I've got some batteries on the back, but this is mains powered as well if you want it to be. So let me just switch that on. Exactly the same as the studio light, this can be controlled by the app. I can change the power in 1% increments. I've got white balance and then I've got power. I can also control it via the app on Bluetooth. But as you can see here, let me just turn it down. That's on 1%. What you normally see from LED lights, when you turn the brightness down, you can see the individual LEDs. This is just one consistent light source. There's no hotspots, there's no individual LEDs that you can see. I have no idea how they've done this, but it's actually a very flattering light. Out of the two lights, this one feels a lot better built. It's definitely got a metal back to it. Comes with tripod fixings on both sides and on the bottom. I've been using a Manfrotto Pixie, so you can just carry it around like this, or alternatively you can just connect it to a light stand. So this is really flexible. Both mains powered and it can be powered by batteries. So hopefully this video has been helpful if you were thinking about making your own home office YouTube studio for filming in. This is what my office looks like in 2022. It's always changing, and who knows, next year it might be completely different. Thanks to Sirui for sending both of these lights to me. I'll put them both to good use. If you've got any questions about either these two products or anything else that I've shown in this video, let me know in the comments below. Otherwise, thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe, hit the notification bell, and I'll see you in the next video.